Can you all see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Visible.
Great. Okay, good evening, everyone. Today we would be
One sec, Priya. It is my responsibility.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good evening, everybody.
Good evening, sir.
Ravindra Psychotherapy Research Institute Trust, I welcome you all. I am very much fortunate that today my dearest student, Miss Priya Bharma, she will take class for the course AP 5. That is the code AP 5. And Miss Priya Bharma currently is doing PhD, and earlier she was the academic assistant of our applied psychometric course. Here I like to share that RPRIT is regularly flourishing the potential of the students. So Priya Bharma, she joined as the student, as the trainee like you, for the applied psychometric course. And later on, she was the academic assistant. And after that, I assigned her another course as the academic assistant related to the questionnaire construction and development for the personnel selection. And I am very much fortunate that she is very sincere, obedient. And for her sincerity, I have completed the task. So I am praying for her good health and for her bright future. Now I am requesting Priya to take the class.
Thank you, sir, for the lovely introduction. I'm fortunate.
Now it is over to Priya.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir, for the lovely introduction. And I'm honored to work with you for different courses and projects. And I hope we continue to do so. So to introduction, to share skills in today's lecture. My question for all, what's your understanding of or sorry, it got disconnected. 1 second. Yes, can you all see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
It got disconnected. Oh. Okay, so the last thing I asked, what is your understanding of questionnaire and what are some of the elements of questionnaire do you see? Can you name any of it in this picture in front of you? So one by one, please unmute yourself and share your responses. What is your understanding of questionnaire and what can you name from the thing you can see on the screen?
It's a rating scale kind of questionnaire.
Okay. And what is your understanding of a questionnaire?
Actually, it is a set of statement or questions. With the help of that, we try to measure the responses or behavior unit of the respondent.
Okay. Anyone else?
Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am, to record the responses of the client whom we are dealing with, we need the questionnaires. This is my understanding.
And what can you name in front of you? What are some of the elements of questionnaire do you see?
In front of me, like if the person is happy or sad or hopeless, we can count on that.
Okay, great. Anyone else? All of you are supposed to be interactive in this class, so please unmute yourself and whatever comes to your mind, whatever do you understand by a questionnaire or a scale, please.
Ma'am, I have a question. Like if we use this questionnaire,
Yeah.
like the person who is sad or who does not want to reveal himself, so can the person manipulate here? Means if he's feeling sad for say, but he's not ticking on the place where it is written, "Are you sad?" So can this happen? I mean, can the person manipulate the information which we want?
Okay, I'll come back to your question after we have
Okay,
covered
ma'am.
what is
Okay,
questionnaire
ma'am.
because it would cover under the description of questionnaire. Anyone else want to share their understanding of questionnaire?
Ma'am? Hello?
Yes, I can hear you properly.
Can you hear me now?
Could you be a little more louder?
Hello?
Yes.
Okay, questionnaire is a list of statements to measure something, some behavior.
Great.
That's my understanding of a questionnaire.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else who wants to share their input?
Questionnaire is a set of printed questions which is used for a survey.
Okay, great. So what in front of you is a kind of a questionnaire. It is a psychological health questionnaire, PHQ-9. It has 9 statements, as you can see, and it measures the psychological health of a person over the last 2 weeks. So it is talking about over the last 2 weeks, how often have you been bothered by the following problems? So the person who is deciding this questionnaire has certain understanding of psychological health. This is the construct they are uh, measuring on, and it has 9 statements pertaining to psychological health, and it is a rating scale. So the person is supposed to rate on 0 to 3, 0 being not at all and 3 being nearly every day, and the total of which can be calculated here. So this is somewhat a questionnaire looks like. Here sometimes it is statement, sometimes it is question, sometimes it is rating, sometimes you have to choose between the two poles. So this is basically a questionnaire which it looks like. Coming to what is questionnaire, A questionnaire is used when factual information from respondents is desired. So as we can see, we are looking for some factual information. We are not asking anyone to describe on these things. So when a person is marking their responses on the statement or the questions, they are giving their response in the form of certain numbers or numerals. And we are not asking them to describe what they are feeling. Okay. It consists of a form containing a series of questions where respondents themselves fill the answer. So most of the time, respondents fill the answers or the responses. A questionnaire is differentiated from a schedule, an opinionaire, and an interview guide. So sometimes when you talk about questionnaire, there are certain terms which you will read. What is an interview schedule? What is interview guide? What is an opinionaire? So there are three definitions which might come across when you are talking about, when you're studying about questionnaire. So an interview schedule has a form consisting of series of questions which are asked and filled by investigator into a face-to-face setting. Okay, so when you are giving someone an interview schedule, you are administering it in a face-to-face setting. An opinionaire is an information form which attempts to measure the attitude or belief on an individual, also known as attitude scale. It is called as opinionaire. Third, an interview guide consists of a list of basic points to be covered by interviewer during an interview. So this is the basic points one needs to cover. There may not be a set pattern or set series or a series of questions. So basic idea of what a person is going to question about. So this is a questionnaire. So when did questionnaire come into existence? Sir Francis Galton in 1870 invented questionnaire and conducted survey for the study of human differences in heredity. Galton designed the questionnaire for the Fellows of Royal Society, which underpinned English Men of Science in 1874. So Galton was trying to know something about the Fellows of Royal Society. What degree do they have? What is their expertise? Where do they come from? So in order to know that information, he designed a questionnaire, and that revealed, after that information, certain information was revealed which were later used. And through these similar surveys, he founded psychometrics, the science of measuring mental faculties, and differential psychology, a branch of psychology that concerns itself with psychological differences between people rather than common traits. So basically, a questionnaire is a method of survey through which you as a respondent, you as a person can ask some factual information, and it has a series of questions. Okay. It has certain characteristics. So the use of questionnaire, it is a comprehensive measure to assess individual differences in human faculty. It is embedded in a well-established theory of individual differences and is found to predict a wide variety of important behavior criteria. So if you're aware of the Cattell 16 PF, it is based on trait theory of personality. So earlier, when questionnaire as a method, it was evolving, so people had an idea about how to ask question about certain criteria. But later, when more standardized ways of questionnaire were being developed and designed, then they were eventually going to based on certain theory. So 16 PF has 16 personality factor. It is based on trait theory of personality. So can you name any questionnaire which is based on a certain theory?
TAT.
Okay, TAT is a questionnaire.
No, it is a projective technique.
Okay.
TPQR, Eisenhower questionnaire.
Okay, great. Anyone else?
Neo FFI, ma'am. That's
It is a questionnaire for measuring Personality. Okay. Can you name a motivation questionnaire? Need for achievement is based on
Murray's theory.
Murray's theory. So many of the questionnaires which we use in psychology have certain theoretical basis. So even if we are talking about the stress questionnaire, depression questionnaire, they are based on a construct or a theory, what depression looks like, what anxiety looks like, what panic disorder looks like, what does OCD look like, and what is the understanding of OCD as per DSM 5 or ICD 10, 11. So they are based on certain theories or construct. So it is a comprehensive measure to assess individual differences. So through questionnaire, what are we trying to do? We are trying to assess individual differences, how individual differentiate with each other on a certain trait or a certain attribute. Okay, it is needed for purpose of classification, intervention, development, and measurement of outcomes, such as assessing social change through survey methods. Okay, so okay, when we were trying to, during COVID, when the government was trying to understand how COVID is affecting people, they were trying to classify what are certain categories of COVID, what are certain severity, then what intervention is required for a certain degrees of COVID, and then how to manage the outcomes, how to manage the policies. So questionnaires are required for various reasons, some of which is classification, intervention, development, measurement of outcome. Can you give me an example in your life where you think questionnaire helped you to understand something, classify something, provide intervention, development, and measurement of outcome? Students, have you ever used any questionnaire? For any intervention, classification, development? No? Okay, that's okay if you haven't used, but okay, let me give you an example. If you all are psychology students, you must have used stress scale, depression scale to understand, to classify people into different categories of stress. So there comes the classification. Intervention, if you have been able to successfully classify, then intervention is required. I'm also checking the chat box. Beck. Great. Okay. So, so if a person was falling in the higher range of stress, then how to design an intervention and how to develop the outcomes. If a class is on the higher range of stress, then how to decide what kind of intervention can be done. If a student is not doing well in academics, what kind of intervention. So questionnaire help us to classify, design intervention, development, and measurement of outcomes. It is economical because it helps researchers to get first-hand information regarding the vagueness of items and establish rapport with the respondent. So while we are using questionnaire, a person's personality also intervenes, so it has both positive and negative outcomes. So there are certain characteristics of a good questionnaire, that it should have high objectivity, it should be free from subjectivity. That means it should be equal for all respondents, free from any personal judgment regarding ability, skills, trait, knowledge to be measured. It should be standardized. Uniformity in questionnaire administration and scoring. How do you differentiate between a standardized and non-standardized questionnaire? How do you identify if a questionnaire is standardized or not? STAI. How do you know if a question is standardized? Okay, let me give you two scenarios. The questionnaires which appear in newspapers, are they standardized? Some questionnaires.
I think they are customized.
They're customized, may or may not be standardized, right? Because there are no set of instruction anyone can do and understand the items as they like. So we are not very sure of the standardization behind those questionnaires which appear in the newspapers and magazines, in children's magazines. They are sometimes just for fun or for basic analysis to keep their readers intact. Okay. But to have it standardized, there is a uniformity in test administration, questionnaire administration, scoring, and also the interpretation. It cannot be messed up with. The reliability, there should be consistency in response to the questionnaire. Validity, to show the degree to which a questionnaire measures what it intends to measure. If a questionnaire says intelligence and it has certain items for stress, is it a valid one? No. Norms, the average or typical score, mean and median on a particular questionnaire made by a specific population. So a good questionnaire should have all these characteristics. And there are, apart from reliability, validity, norms, and objectivity, there are certain more characteristics which make a questionnaire good, such as it should be concerned with specific topic. One should, while designing questionnaire or while understanding if it is a good questionnaire or not, it should be very specific. There should not be vagueness in a questionnaire. It should be short. The direction and word should be simple and clear. It should be objective and should not provide any hints or suggestions regarding the possible answers. Embarrassing, presuming, hypothetical questions should be avoided. The questions should be presented in a good order, proceeding from general to specific responses or from favorable to unfavorable latitude. So while you can see a questionnaire, the way the items are presented, they should be general to specific and not the other way. It should be neat and attractive in appearance, neatly printed or duplicated or clearly arranged. So it should be nice. The font and everything should be clear, legible. If you are making a copy of a questionnaire, it should not have excessive noise, excessive printing errors, and shadows or anything. So it should be clear so that there are no distractions on the questionnaire. Oh, there are certain types of questionnaires. So they can be classified into two dimensions. Fixed response questionnaire, it consists of statements of questionnaire with a fixed number of options or choices. The examples such as, do you feel shy in public place? So when a respondent is answering to a fixed response questionnaire, they have a fixed choice. Can you see a maybe here? No. Can you see, please specify how, why? Nothing. Either it is yes, either it is no. There is fixed response. And okay, can you give me another alternative of fixed response questionnaire? It is also known as? Can you write now? Can you tell me now? Fixed response questionnaire is also known as?
Alternative.
Close-ended. Yes, no is close-ended, right?
It is close-ended questionnaire. There is no room for any lengthy and short or descriptive answer. There are fixed questions, yes or no. Do you like to entertain and talk to new people in a party? Yes or no. There is no maybe, there is no why, there is no description why I don't want to talk to new people, why I like to talk to new people. It is very fixed, close-ended questionnaire. Okay, and the other type is open-ended questionnaire. It consists of questions that require short or lengthy answers by the respondents. Example, what are the causes of students' absenteeism? So it would be descriptive. The person is asking causes. It could be as short as the teacher is not good, the infrastructure is not good, the learning material is not good. It could be as descriptive as 1 page or the limit decided by the person. What methods do you recommend to deal with online teaching during new normal? So if some of you are teachers and while you were adapting to the learning methodology, so there must be certain discussions around how do you want to deal with online teaching during new normal? How are students coping up with the new methodology? What can we do to make it more better? So these questions lead to certain new outcomes, new points of discussion, new ways of dealing with a problem, new alternative. So these are used in different types of questionnaires. Okay, now we come to what is a scale. A scale is a set of symbols or numerals so constructed that the symbols or numerals can be assigned by rule to the individuals or their behaviors to whom the scale is applied. So when, okay, so let just imagine a ruler in front of you. Will that ruler make any sense if it did not had any numbers?
No, ma'am.
It won't make any sense because now you, even if you can see how much longer 1 inch is from 3 inch, how to differentiate, you won't be able to differentiate between certain units. So scale, when we are talking about scale, there are certain symbols or numerals assigned by rule. So assigned by rules, such as there are certain rules through which a set of symbols are assigned to the individual or their behavior. So if it is a scale of motivation, certain attributes are assigned certain numbers or symbols, such as like a test is measuring, like a test is a scale measuring instrument, but strictly speaking, scale is used in 2 ways. So test is also a measuring instrument, but there are certain purposes of scale, such as to indicate measuring instrument and to indicate the systematized numerals of the measuring numerals. So there is a set method to scale. If there are certain numerals or symbols assigned, then they are there to assign certain trait or certain value. So further, rating scales are used in psychology. A rating scale is defined as technique through which the observer or rater categorize the objects, events, or person on a continuum represented by a series of continuous numerals. So there are certain types of rating scales which are used in psychology and psychometry. So according to Guilford, in 1954, rating scales are divided into 6 categories. So they are numeral scales, graphic scales, percentage rating, standard scales, scales of cumulated points, force choice scales. The first one being numerical rating scale. So they are very easiest to construct. In numerical scales, the observer is supplied with a sequence of numbers which is well defined, and the task is to rate the object's events on the number of sequence of defined numbers. Such as I say, how did you feel in today's class? Okay, how did you feel in today's class? Or what is your understanding? how do you agree or disagree with something? So there are certain numerical associated with your responses to understand how much do you agree, disagree, undecided, strongly disagree. So did you like today's class? You can say strongly agree, you can say strongly disagree. If you are undecided, you can mark undecided, you can say disagree and agree. So these are numerical rating scales, very easy to design, just because if you write a statement and then you assign a numerals to the responses, very easy to construct. Second one is graphic rating scales. So it is most popular and widely used rating scale. It is considered as an improvement over the numerical scale because it tends to overcome some of the difficulties faced by the numerical scale, such as on a graphic scale, the information is presented graphically in which descriptive cues corresponding to the different scales steps are given, such as Miss XYZ delivers lectures in classroom. So here there are no numbers, but you're able to decide how the person is delivering their classroom lectures. So it is graphic representation of how the person is performing in the class. So if you want to evaluate Miss XYZ according to her classroom lectures, so if you feel the lecturer is extremely rapid in her delivery of classroom lecture, tolerably rapidly, with slow speed, sluggishly, or extremely slowly. Can you see how graphic are these responses? You're able to identify, right? All of these are graphic representation of a rating scale. So here it is talking about, so with every question, with every statement, these would be very different from each other's. Okay, so why numerical rating scales are easier? Because statements may change, but these would remain the same. But if you really want to know how the person is doing, and you want to remove the social desirability, someone asks social desirability, that if on the questionnaire I can, even if I'm sad and I don't want to write that I am sad, I'm not feeling good, and the person can see, okay, let's go back to the questionnaire. Suppose these days I have little interest or pleasure in doing things, I'm feeling down. So here you can see all of the statements. If I circle all the threes, my psychological health questionnaire, it would say that my psychological health is not good because I am every day I'm experiencing all these things. So I can clearly manipulate my responses. If someone can identify the pattern, they can manipulate the responses. This is known as social desirability. So if I want to appear good or in good psychological health, what do I have to do? I have to do 0 in all of the things. So this is one of the disadvantage of a questionnaire. If a person can go through and check the pattern and is lazy enough to go through all the questionnaire, they would very lazily mark 000, 333 or undecided, which does not give us any useful information about our client or from the respondent. So this is where a graphic questionnaire comes to the rescue. That if there is any question, you have to actually go through all the responses. It may be very different from each other. And after reading every response, you have to mark a certain response. Okay. So this is graphic rating scale. The other one, third one, is percentage rating scale. So percentage rating scale is done whenever the investigator wants a quick rating with maximum uniformity from rater to rater. The technique requires the rater to place the ratees among different specified percentage group or into different percentile or quartile such as given below. So this gives a person very quick rating scale to maximum uniformity. So here, if I want to know how is that person doing, okay, so if I ask if XYZ in this class, how is XYZ doing in the class. So if I want to rate all 9 of you on a certain way from today's performance in the test, okay, and I don't want to calculate so much, but I just want to put you in certain categories according to percentage. So highest 5%, these three are in the highest 5%, or these two are in the lower half of the percent, or these three are in the highest 25% but not in the top 10%. So this is how one is able to differentiate between certain categories they want to put. So it can be according to the percentage, percentile, or quartile. So these ratings are common among teachers who are asked to rate their students in classroom in terms of overall performance. So sometimes during our schools and colleges, people used to say, I am in the top 10 of the rankers, or I am in the second range. I'm not in the top 10, but yes, I'm very close to that. I may be in the top 10 list, or I am in the bottom. I'm still in the middle. I'm trying to get into the top ranker. So this is where we are trying to see where do we stand in the percentile rating. Okay, so this is sometimes used in classroom to identify or to put students into certain rating categories. The next one is standard scale. Standard scales are not very popular rating scales. So they were originally developed in a bid to have more uniformity of meaning of scale points and to get an unbiased rating on the basis of those scale points. So every type of scale we are trying to study is based on the limitations of the previous ones. So when numerical felt a little too vague, if graphic felt a little too tedious to design, they try to design the percentage rating according to the different requirement. Standard scale was high, however, it was where you give certain pre-established scale values. So certain in standard scale, certain uniformity of the meaning of scale points is there, and to get an unbiased rating on the basis of those scale points. These standard scale is one which the rater is presented with some standards with pre-established scale values. So these standards usually consist of objects of the same kind, such as they may be names of the person, man-to-man scale, or portrait matching. But this is very interesting. So this is used in a very different setting. That is why it is not very popular. So suppose I have certain professors. Here are the army professionals according to their ranks. So if the scale values, so it's just, if you can just remove this part. Okay. If one can just remove the names, and I have the names of these 5 or 6 people, and I have to put them into very high, average, low, or very low, not according to their ranks, but according to certain values. Okay, very high on what? Regularity. So suppose Lieutenant Chima is very high on regularity, but not very good in behavior. So in a different category, Lieutenant Chima would be on the top high here, but in the next category he would be on the left, in the bottom. Or Brigadier Karipa might be in the middle range here, but he might be in the second. So this is how all of the respondents are supposed to put certain names into certain scale values, and then how do they come to a certain conclusion. So this is the man-to-man scale, which was developed during World War I, which used men instead of numbers and adjectives or other descriptive cues to represent various scale points. So the rater is asked to give the name of the person who is well known to him and is high on the trait being measured. So here I have not mentioned any trait. It could be anything. So it could be, say, discipline. It could be discipline. So if I have these 5 people, I can decide who is high on discipline, who is high, who is average, who is low, who is very low. Okay, है ना? Who is good in cordial relations? Then it might change. Okay, so the scale values would remain the same, but how you assign man or people or descriptives to these scale values, it might differ. So this is man-to-man scale, a type of standard scale. So the rater is asked to give the name of a person who is well known to him and high on the trait being measured. So this is how it was used to see the efficacy of certain people. The only way to use this scale, so if you don't know any of the name, then you cannot assign value to them. Okay, so if I don't know Lieutenant Gilani here, I won't be able to assign. So here I have to give assign certain people to the values only when I'm well aware of them, I know their performance, and I'm in a place to put them into the scale values. So this is one limitations of man-to-man scale. Another technique is portrait matching. Okay, so portrait matching is a development of man-to-man scale, which was developed by Hartshorne in May 1929 in the course of their study of the character. So this is even more interesting. Okay, so here in the man-to-man scale, they were asked to put people on certain scale values. This was even more interesting. They designed certain standards of verbal sketches or portraits for the given traits on which the rating is done and prepared. Okay, so I have made a description of a person, that this person is valuable, this person coordinates well among the seniors and the juniors, this person is well disciplined. So this is a verbal sketch or a portrait. So it could be a hand painted one, hand drawn one. So there are certain portraits which are made, or verbal sketches or description of the given traits, and a number of people are presented and you have to match them with the desirable traits. So it may be interesting to design, but it would be very difficult to design these scale, because you cannot design portraits or description every time you want to assess a different trait or category. So though it is a development to man scale, but it is not very time intensive. So subsequently, they are rank ordered by a group of judges, expert, and scale values determined. A person final rating is the average of all portrait values assigned to him by all the raters. It eliminated the chances of subjectivity, as it requires the rater to find the persons matching their description. So here it was okay to match the person matching the description, but to design that level of description for all the people, it was not very time intensive. Okay, then last one, okay, the second last one is the scale of cumulated points. So this rating scale is based upon cumulated or summated points, which are the most common. Here, the person's total score is the sum of individual ratings or the points assigned to all items of the scale. Such points may be weighed or unweighed. It has two types: checklist method, So if you just clearly, if you want to see the behavior, have you ever used any checklist? Have you seen any checklist?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. An example of checklist would be, generally in the cases, okay, someone has written something in the BDI, BFI. Yes, these are some of the checklists. So if there is a checklist such as Beck depression inventory, it has all the symptoms of a person of a depression. So when you're talking to a person who possibly might be showing symptoms of depression, you're trying to check if this is the symptom, this is the symptom, this is the symptom, this is the symptom. Have you seen Beck depression inventory?
Yes, ma'am.
All the
Ma'am, Beck
possible symptoms.
and BFI, are these are checklist, ma'am? Like,
So some of these are checklists, some of these are inventories. So that is an inventory. But there are some of the tests or scales, if you find, it has all the possible symptoms of a person who might be having. So personality, if you see personality disorders, there are no test because it is based on the symptoms according to ICD. There are checklists available for personality disorders. So if a person is showing the symptoms of certain personality disorders, such as for OCD, are they checking, they have checking behavior, they have impulsive thoughts, they have ability to check again and again, do they have intrusive thoughts, and do they have high tendency to check on their intrusive thoughts. So there are certain checklists which are checklist which tell about a person's probability if they fall into the certain category. So checklist do not give the exact information, but it helps us to point out what symptoms or what categories or what traits a person is following on a preliminary basis. So this is what a checklist does. So what we do in a checklist, we check all the things and we see, okay, this person is following 7 out of 9 symptoms. Or if we see on a checklist, if we want to see, okay, let me give you a very interesting example of a checklist. So say I make a checklist of a person who has pro-COVID behavior. What kind of things it might include? Pro-COVID behavior. Do you understand what pro-COVID behavior is? Positive or safe behavior during COVID. What are the things a person might be doing? A person might be wearing mask. So am I having appropriate COVID behavior, if not pro-COVID behavior? It could be, are you using mask on a daily basis? Are you refraining to touch any surfaces? Are you frequently washing hands? Are you maintaining physical distancing? Okay, so appropriate COVID behavior could include some of that thing. Yes, wearing mask all the time, maintaining distance, using sanitizer, or so if that could be a checklist to see if I have an appropriate COVID behavior. So if I check all the things, that means I am maintaining appropriate COVID behavior. But if I'm not wearing mask, or I am just putting my mask on my chin, not covering my nose. So checklist might include certain specific things as well. Are you using a mask? Are you safely using the mask, also covering the nose and the mouth? Are you washing your mask every day? Are you keeping your hands clean? Are you washing your vegetables? So all these things might come into appropriate COVID behavior. So it is not indicating, some checklists are not always indicating an abnormality or any malignant behavior, uh, troubled behavior, but just to see how far we are doing on a certain behavior. So this is a checklist method. And this is one more method, guess who technique. So here is the one who is always worried. Here is the one. So these are sometimes some of the statements of guess who technique. So here is the one who is always worried. Here is the one who is always happy. Here is the one who is always helpful. So these are descriptions of various roles played by children in a group. The children are asked to name who fits the description. So this is a guess who technique. So this is also generally, usually it was designed to know the clicks in a classroom, but it is also used in corporate settings to understand the click behavior. Click behavior means how people are connecting with each other, how groups are being formed, and how people are close to each other. So guess who technique. Okay, the last one, the force choice rating scale. A force choice rating scale represents a major departure from the pattern of rating scales discussed above. All of the above techniques consider one attribute at a time, at a place, the ratees in any one of the set categories. So in a force choice rating scale, the rater is given a set of attributes in terms of verbal statement for a single item, and they decide which one represent the individual being rated most appropriately and accurately. It may have several alternatives. So it is different from all the categories, all the types of rating scales which we have designed. So here for every statement, all the alternatives can be different. So it can have 2 alternatives, 3 alternatives, 4 alternatives. So one example of force choice rating scale is, so if you want to assess Miss XYZ for her lecture, so you can see these are 4 of the choices. Lectures with confidence, keep students interested and motivated, cares a great deal for slow learners, entertain suggestion from the class. But you might think something different here. There could be an E which is not mentioned here, right? There is a possibility of an E or an F which is not covered in these choices. This is what makes it a force choice rating scale, because you have to choose between the given choices. There might be a possibility that you might want to add here that she is jolly, she is competent, but these options are not given here, right? So that makes it a force choice rating scale. So here the rater may be asked to select any 2 statements which are most descriptive and representative of the persons being rated. So here in this example, you have to select the only 2 which are the most highest description according to you. But you have to leave the last 2. Okay. How it is scored and how it is interpreted, the rater's total score will be on the sum of scores assigned to the most discriminative statements in each set, which is the most favorable is the most discriminating statement C, and the least discriminating is A. So if how do we find the discriminating statement here? So if a person is choosing A for all the things, but not choosing these things, so one is able to discriminate between the options which are given. So this is force choice rating scale. So there are, apart from these 6, there are 2 also 2 different techniques which were designed for scaling, one of which is Q-sort technique. It was, so we were not going much detail in how to use this. Just to give a basic understanding, these 2 techniques were developed for a very different kind of data. okay, to understand a very different kind of data. Sometimes the data we have to understand or analyze is not what we have been analyzing for a very long time. So new techniques are devised. So it was devised by William Stephenson in 1953 for the study of verbalized attitudes, preferences, and self-description. It involves some objects such as verbal statements, pictures, words, phrases, which are given to an individual or a group of individuals to sort out into a set of piles according to a set criterion. Okay, suppose I have 60 preferences. I have 60 types of coffee, and I am asking you to sort them into 4 categories, such as strong, mild, or light. Okay. So now I am giving you all the coffees and you have to sort them into certain categories. My understanding of strong, mild, or light would be very different from someone else's. So over time, it is after going through all the categories, we are able to see how people are putting, what are the things people are putting under the category of strong, what are the things coffee tastes people are putting under the category of mild, and what are some of the coffee samples people are putting under the category of mild. So this is complicated if you go much under that. So it is sometimes, it can diagrammatically, it could look like that, that you put scores into a certain way, disagree, neutral, or agree. So when we spoke about strong, mild, or light, when you're talking about attitudes, it could be neutral, agree, and disagree. So if I give you certain statements and you have to put it under neutral, disagree, or agree. If I want to know your opinion, your attitude about Article 377, okay, about homosexuality, and I give you 60 cards to know, then you put these things I disagree with, these things I have a neutral opinion, these things I agree with. So after evaluating responses of many people, I'm able to find out how many people disagree on the same selection, how many people fall in the neutral selection, how many people fall in the agree selection, and what kind of things they have sorted in these selections. This is what is a raw analysis after we analyze all the data of Q-sort. And the last technique which we are going to cover today is semantic differential. So a semantic differential scale is an attitude measuring device developed by Osgood, Sushi, and Tannenbaum in 1957. It is defined as a collection of subscales in which absolute ratings of concept is done. It is different from Q-sort as it does not permit comparative ratings of responses. Q-sort does comparative ratings, so you're able to compare one part to another part to the another part. So you're not comparing. Every card I give you, you have all the comparative analysis. You can keep it under agree, neutral, or disagree. If I talk about what do you think about homosexuality? Are you in favor of lesbian relationship? What is your understanding of LGBTQIA? How fluid gender can be? So you can have all the comparative analysis of all the cards if I give you the information. Q-sorts give you the ability to comparatively put all the categories with each other, but not in the case of semantic differential. It does not permit comparative ratings. The purpose of semantic differential is to measure the various facets of meaning of the concept, the various facets of meaning being represented by the adjective. So I'll give you a representation of what semantic differential scale look like. So if I give you an object, say I give you a Versace accessory. Okay, I'll give you a Versace wristwatch. So now you have to rate it. Is it expensive or is it inexpensive? If it is expensive, to what degree it is expensive? If it is inexpensive, to what degree it is inexpensive? Is it convenient to use? It is reliable? So these are polar aparts. So very clearly you are able to see if this is absolute polar apart categories of attitude. So if you fall under inexpensive, you cannot call it expensive. So this is what a semantic differential scale look like. So friendly, unfriendly, modern, old-fashioned, wide selection, very limited selection. So you can give an attitude about, you give something and then you have to rate your responses on this semantic differential scale. Sir, I'm complete here. Do you want to add anything? Hello, sir.
Thank you, Priya. I think you have covered the most important skills which the applied psychometricians regularly are using. At least this 1 month course is limited about the content of the scale, the definition of the scale, and how one type of scale is different from other. And thank you. You have covered all the issues, it seems to me. So, dear students, do you have any question?
Sir, as of now, I don't have any question.
I will
Okay.
share this in the classroom. Okay, no questions. Great. Even if you have any questions later, I will share this PPT in the Google Classroom. So today we have covered introduction to questionnaire and scales. And I will be sharing this PPT in the Google Classroom. In the lecture 2, we would be covering personality test, attitude values and interest test. So one homework for all of you, please bring, you have to, before we start our lecture 2, all of you have to name 2 tests under each. So at least 2 tests under personality, 2 under attitude, 2 under values, and 2 under interest tests. This is your assignment. You have to complete before the lecture 2. Just to know what is your understanding of personality test, attitude test, just 2 names of each. Okay, I will share this assignment in the Google Classroom along with the PPT, and we will talk about the personality test, attitude and values and interest test. It is very interesting. I would also be showing some of the personality tests, what do they look like and how different they are with each other. It might be possible that some of the tests which you are going to mention in your assignment could also be discussed in the classroom. So please show up. It is a very small thing I'm asking you all. Okay, if you are able to do that, great. Anyway, you can do that after the lecture as well, but just to maintain some kind of interactive classroom strategy, please do the assignment before the next class. Anyway, you would be able to do that later. So on that note, thank you everyone. You have been a very interactive batch of students. I'm complete here.
There is one question in the chat box.
So these scales are useful when you want to have very specific annotations to certain things. Okay, so these are very specific in nature, and it gives the degree to which your attitude differs on a scale. So there are people who are not able to come to a certain choice or a certain degree. So this is where semantic differential scales are used, because there are people who like to put they are in the undecided or neutral category. So this is where to eliminate the chances of undecided, neutral, they are somewhat given degrees between the two choices. So this is where semantic differential scales are useful. They're not useful in all the categories, but when you are looking for attitudinal differences and you want to see how people feel about certain things and towards trends, this is where semantic differential scales are being widely used. I hope your query is being answered.
Yes, ma'am. Just one more question related with this. Then how we can analyze those results, responses?
Okay,
based on
so
semantic-
when semantic differential tests scales are being used, the analysis is generally done on the basis of how people have, what kind of people, what opinion people do form over certain things. So I gave you an example of a newly launched Versace watch, which has a high brand value. But if people do feel same about it, so suppose tomorrow, in the next 3 months, Apple is planning to launch one more phone. But what kind of attitude people do have about the new launch? So to understand that, semantic differential is used. So if they want to bring in a new launch, or if they want to change a few features, so this is used in the preliminary stage. So when these kind of questionnaires are being floated or circulated wide, many people give their responses, and these responses are analyzed with the help of softwares to see how favorable people are seeing any object, event, new product launch, or a policy. So collectively, these responses are being analyzed to see. So I was giving an example of iPhone. So all of you would agree that in the last 3 to 4 launches, there has not been any changes. So if iPhone decides to bring absolutely different features, which might not go well with people, and it might look like uh, a ripoff of some of the new features from different brands. So how well these things are going with the people, how well are people receiving certain new developments. So this is where these the semantic differential scales are used to see how well people are doing. So if suppose Salman Khan tomorrow wants to do a documentary, people would want to know, would you like to see Salman Khan in a documentary, not in an action film, to see the opinion. Okay, to see if people want to see how people is the present education system is valid enough. Do you want to bring any changes? Do you want to bring any radical changes? Do you want to bring any formative changes as per the West? Or do you want to go back to the methodologies used by our ancient teachers? To see the opinion, if you want to bring a certain development or new additional technology, to see the opinion. So the use of semantic differential is very particular in only a certain kind of settings, not everywhere it gives the most favorable results.
Right. So it is more subjective, or we can call it as qualitative rather than quantitative.
It gives it is a quantitative test as well. I won't say it is qualitative, but yes.
Okay, madam, here I like to share
Yes,
That
sir.
is, in doctoral dissertation, most of the time you will find that we are using different types of terminology.
Mhm.
So what is the meaning of that particular term? Usually we follow the definition, that is okay. But if we think about for example, happiness.
Hmm.
So if you ask this question to the patient suffering in the hospital and you are asking, what do you mean by the happiness? Okay. And happiness to other people. And you will find the different meanings are there.
Yes, yes.
And based upon that meaning, you can create some of the bipolar adjectives. Okay. And after that, you can get some of the data. You can collect the data from the different categories of people. And then you can compare. That is, what is the meaning of happiness? Okay, for example, now I am taking soup. To me, happiness means good diet. Okay, and some people, maybe some other areas, they are telling, okay, happiness means peace. Once upon a time, I collected data from the management people in Northeast. During that period, regular bombing is there.
Mhm.
I asked them, that is, what is the meaning of yoga? And what is the meaning of business? So then I find I have applied the semantic differential scale. And I have noted that is the people, they have the different type of perceptions to the yoga people and the business people. So what is important, semantic differential scale, that is each individual carries some meaning. And that meaning basically guided. So it is a latent phenomenon.
Right. Yes.
So this is a latent phenomena, and that
Mhm.
is actually our guiding force for motivation. Okay, especially in case of the market research and in case of the political issue also. So you know that is the Indian Statistical Institute was able to predict that is the BJP will not come to the power.
Mhm.
Whenever all the newspapers highlighted that BJP will come to the power.
Mhm.
But only the Indian Statistical Institute predicted no. How? By using the factor analysis.
Okay. Right.
Okay. So what is the observed phenomena? That is not sufficient to explain. What is the latent phenomena?
Mhm.
That is important.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, madam, for raising this question.
Sir, can we still call it completely a quality? Can we put this under a
No,
category
it is
of
not the quality.
or
It is no, it
quantitative?
is not qualitative, because in case of the qualitative, your perception and my perception and other perception, it differs, and why it differs, that is important, but it is not the averaging our perception.
So that can't be quantified, na, sir?
Yes, so
Hmm.
definitely it can be
Yes.
quantified
Right.
and we can average it. It is a ratio scale.
Mhm.
It is a very high level of measurement scale, that is the ratio scale.
Right. Like out of 10 people, how many of them talk about neutral, how many of them for favorable and non-favorable. In that way, we can check the results.
No, madam, I am requesting
Just
you.
like
Please,
ratio, I am saying, miss,
yeah, please,
not
please
the number,
see.
but like she has
No,
referred
because
about expensive and
because here you will find the different bipolar adjectives are there.
Yes.
So you will get one profile. Okay, you will get the profile. If you ask the, it can be applied in psychological counseling also, especially in case of the marital counseling. There is a lot of the conflict between husband and wife. So you will collect initially all the data. After that, you use the adjective checklist, what madam has told you, this adjective checklist, and then you select the adjectives, and then you collect the data from both husband and wife. How husband perceives wife, and what is the expectation of husband about the wife. Is there any discrepancy? If discrepancy is there, then on which bipolar adjectives? Okay. So in this manner, you can apply. This is very good. I have applied in my counseling. This is a very good. So for applied psychometrics, semantic differential scale is very useful. It does not take much time also. It follows ratio scale. I think 3 factors are there. One factor may be quality, another factor potency, another factor may be activity, like that. So usually we interpret any individual or self also based upon these 3 factors. It's very interesting. If you get chance, please you study Osgood semantic differential scale. It's very interesting. One of our paper has been published in the Times of India, and there we have applied the semantic differential scale to understand the attitude towards disabled people of the teachers of the school in with disability and the teachers without any disability. That means general school and the schools with disadvantage group. Okay.
So just 1 minute. You had told about that ratio scale in that 3 factors you said: potency, degree, and what is the third one?
Quality.
Okay.
For example, good, bad. Okay, potency means strong, weak. Another one is the activity. So active, passive.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Good night.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, everybody.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Shara.